Our goal is our learning target, and our learning target is plan and carry out investigations. That's learning target number 3. What is our process today? What are we going to do? Our process is to classify the shells of various mollusks using a dichotomous key. We have had some experience using a dichotomous key a little bit earlier in the year with bacteria. Now we're going to use it with shells, specifically mollusk shells. Okay. Why? That's our purpose. So we can so we can practice carrying out an investigation. That's a skill that is necessary in science and engineering practices. Carrying out an investigation is what we are doing today. I don't necessarily, you won't be graded, right? Like when you get to high school or want to graduate high school or even go to college, possibly, whatever. You won't necessarily, hi Sawyer, you won't necessarily be graded or receive your degree based on can you memorize all the names of every mollusk shell that you've ever seen. No, but this is a science skill. It's a practice, plan and carry out an investigation. Okay, and those are what we're concerned about in science, in middle school science. Okay. All right. Just want you to be aware of that. And I will know I'm successful when I have correctly used the dichotomous key and placed each shell into its proper place. Okay, so we will correctly use a dichotomous key. In just one second. So there you have it. That's what we're working on today. We're going to start with classifying mollusk shells and actually practice using a dichotomous key. Okay, so you will go into today's folder on Schoology. And I'll show you where. Okay, so here we are. We are in week 24, hard to believe, February 16th through 19th. Remember, we did not have school yesterday. That's why there's no February 15th up there. So we're in the Tuesday, February 16 folder. You're going to go to this assignment that says classifying mollusk shells. Click that. Okay, and then it says, here are your directions. Please complete the activity sheet by using Kami. So you're going to open this assignment using Kami. Open the assignment using Kami. You should get a sheet that looks like this. You will get a sheet that looks like this. It says at the top, classifying mollusk shells. Okay, exactly what we talked about, what we're doing today. Oh boy. Now I get this rainbow wheel spinning. That's never a good sign. Okay, there we go. So our purpose is to classify mollusk shells using a taxonomic key or a dichotomous key. That they are almost interchangeable. It depends on, a number of things, but taxonomic key or dichotomous key, essentially the same thing. So everybody with me here, please let me know if you are not here. Okay, based off no words being spoken there, I assume we're all here. Good, great, grand. All right, procedure. We're going to read through our procedure before we get going, and we'll complete this together, and this should be an easy grade for you in the grade book, okay? All right, let's start with number 1. Cooper, can you read that?
Read all instructions before or for this activity before you begin your work.
Bingo. Nice. So we're going to read all the instructions. One of our first instruction is to read all the instructions. Thank you. Okay. It says on number 2, go ahead, Emily.
On your own paper, draw a data table like the one shown.
Okay, we're going to draw a table like the one shown. Here's what you're going to need to do. See this data table right here? We're going to need to add a sheet and draw the data table, just like that. There are going to be 7 shells, I believe. Yes. We're going to wait, though, because we're supposed to read all the instructions before we do anything. So we're going to add a sheet and draw a data table coming up. Okay? Number 3. Go ahead, Carissa.
Study the models to become familiar with some terms used to describe shells.
Okay, good. Very good. We're going to study these models right here. These are the models to become familiar with some terms used to describe shells. Okay? There's a bunch of terms here, new vocabulary words. And number 4, go ahead, Ava.
Using the taxonomic key, identify the mollusk shells down and record their names.
Okay, very good. Awesome, very good. So that is what we will accomplish. So we read all the instructions. You need a paper and a pencil. Obviously you don't, unless you would like to print this out and send a picture to me. You can use Cami here to fill it out. So we're going to create this data table by adding a sheet. Right here at the bottom it says add more pages. Let's add 1 for now. And it's giving me a spinny wheel. Hopefully it works. Hey, look at that. It worked. And I'm going to add a data table. Let's see. Do we have shapes? Yeah, insert a rectangle. There, that's a good start. Data table. How about let's make a line. Wow, this is shaping up nice. Over here. That could have been better, but it's okay. And then we're going to have 7 of them, right? So I'm going to make, that was kind of skinny, but 1, 2. Here. First, I'm going to label my text box up here. Let's try shell number. And over here, let's do shell name. Everybody with me? Sorry, I'm going a little bit fast, but is everybody able to do this? I guess I should have. Make sure that we can see it. Shell name, shell number. Here would be 1. We're just going to go right in order. 1, 2. All right, now I'm going back to my line. Three, 4, 5. Yep, I didn't really plan that out perfectly, but you know, we're making it. We're making it work, everybody. Okay, there's my data table. When you are done, type shell in the chat when you have something that looks similar to this. Nice. 1, 2, 3. All right, just a little bit longer, it looks like. All right, there we go. Everybody's playing along with me. Shell. Awesome. So we're going to create our data table. We did that. Now we need to look up at the top again. It says study the models to become familiar with some terms used to describe shells. So here's what we're going to look at. Okay. Couple different terms that maybe you've heard of, maybe you haven't. Some of them make sense. Some of them may not make sense to you. Okay. Here's your models. Let's start with this shell on the left. This is the shell of a univalve, meaning a mollusk that only has one shell, like a snail. Okay, so you can kind of tell this might look like a snail shell. Right here, you see this opening. Okay, opening is pretty simple. That's the opening of the shell where the the snail pokes its tentacles out of its head, its radula, its foot, right? And then the rest of its body is inside the shell, but there's the opening, okay? This up here, this pointed structure, the whole thing is known as a spire. The whole thing is known as a spire. The pointed structure of one of those shells is known as a spire. And then you see whorls, the pattern on the shell. So the whorls sometimes go around. Sounds like whirl, a whirl, like going for a whirl. Okay, or whirling around. Those are whorls. Over here on the right, we have a bivalve shell, meaning it looks like a shell that is that is not used, but that is had by scallops, clams, stuff like that. Things that have two shells. Remember we talked about bivalve meaning two shells. Okay. Here you see ears. Okay. Some of these bivalves have ears toward the base of their shell. Just extension of the shell. They're not actually ears that they hear out of. Okay. But they sort of look similar to like ears on a human or another organism, so they're dubbed ears. Then the other thing that you need to know about bivalve shells are radiating ribs and concentric ribs. Now, I don't know. It's kind of hard to see. These have been run off. These have been printed, you know, lots of times, so it gets kind of distorted. But I'm trying to zoom in here as much as I can. Okay, you have radiating ribs and concentric ribs on your shells. Somebody raise their hand and tell me, what do you think the difference is between the radiating ribs and concentric ribs? You're going to have to look at my screen probably because I've zoomed in a little bit. Go ahead, Cooper.
One's going up like a horizontal, one's going vertically.
Yeah, bingo. Okay, very good. Thank you. So radiating ribs, you see that it kind of starts there at the base. Okay, this would be where the shell opens, right? Where that bivalve opens or that clam or scallop opens, like that. The ribs or those lines, those ridges run from the base to where the mouth opens. Not the mouth, excuse me, but where the shell opens. Okay. The concentric ribs. Now, I've seen these in like freshwater mussels and clams. Over here, I would see, or I've seen those in scallops, and we have a couple of those. But the concentric ribs run horizontally, as Cooper said, from side to side. Okay? From side to side. So those are a couple of the new terms that you'll need to know today. Oops. Oh. I don't want to zoom out too far, do I? No, I don't. Oops. Okay. So I'm also going to show you a sheet. So take a look at this that I have. This was drawn by our dear friend, Mr. Welch. Okay, and it's a little easier for you to see. This is an illustrated dictionary of terms. Okay, we have two valve or bivalve. See how he's drawn the clamshell here. We have one valve or univalve. Okay, see how these are snail shells. They vary in size, in shape, in design. Okay, but these are one valve, two valve, bivalve, univalve. All right, and then here we go. He's simplified it and made this very easy for radiating ribs, starting at that posterior end and radiating out to the edge of the shell. Concentric, running horizontally. Some of the shells we'll look at today, not necessarily on this sheet, but we'll have an opening on the top. This is a univalve shell with an opening on the side, a snail shell, that is smooth. This is an opening with an edge that is serrated. Serrated meaning it's got some bumps. All right, let's look over here. Oh, yes. We're talking ears again. We have ears and no ears, right? So here it's pointing at the ears. This is a shell that has no ears. Here are shapes. We have round, long, and triangular. Okay. Now we're getting into the whorls again. Oops, no, I know that's kind of a glare there. But remember we said this portion, the pointy portion of a univalve shell, is known as the spire. Okay, and these are the whorls, the layers that go around the shell are the whorls. Okay, this spire is knobby. It has some bumps on it. All right. This over here, you see these whorls. These whorls are connected. See how they stay connected? As opposed to disconnected or not connected. Over here, the whorls on this snail shell are disconnected. You see how they do not touch. This whorl does not touch that whorl or touch that whorl, but these whorls do. Okay, so we'll look more at that today. Here we have a spire that is flattened. Okay, its spire is not very long this way. It's been flattened, almost like it's been smushed. This spire has been elongated. It's pulled out. So it's longer, opposite of what I just talked about. This one has some wrinkles on it. This one is smooth and wavy as opposed to knobby. Those would be opposites. Okay, and then we have one that is cone shaped, like the cone snail. Looks exactly like a cone. All right, so those are some of the terms, some of the shells that we'll see today when we get into shell bingo. Okay, but those are just some terms that I want you to know. You can return back to Cami. Oops. Now I gotta find it. It's hard to find all these tabs. If I got rid of it, I won't be happy. I don't think I did. Yeah, there it is. Okay, good. So we're gonna start. Okay, let's start with 1. Shall we? Everybody, look at shell 1 on your sheet, on the classifying mollusk sheet. Okay, and then we start. Remember our dichotomous key. We start at the top. Is this a shell with 1 valve or a shell with 2 valves? Aiden Kletke. Does 1 look like it is a 1 valve shell or a 2 valve shell? Is it a clam or a snail?
Looks like it's a 1 valve.
I would say, let's zoom in here. It's kind of hard to tell, but this looks to me like the edge of another shell. Does anybody agree or disagree? Anybody else have thoughts on the matter here?
I think it is 2 shells.
I think that's a 2 shell. Okay, so we're gonna take a look and see what it tells us to do. So shell with 1 valve, go to 2. Shell with 2 valves, that's what we're looking at. We're gonna go to 4, all right? So let's go down to 4. Does it have radiating ribs or concentric ribs? So now we gotta take a look at our shell. Radiating or concentric. Now remember, radiating means they run vertically from like the posterior end to the anterior end. Concentric means it runs side to side. What does this look like here, Emily? Radiating or concentric?
Concentric.
Yeah, very good. Thank you. So that's concentric. So we're going to go up here. Concentric ribs tell us to go to 6. Now we're at 6. Is it a round shape or a long and triangular shape? So it's either a quahog or a blue mussel. Now, I would say if we look at the rest of these here, does that look round or more triangular? What do you think, Riley?
I just got back on here because my mouse went crazy all over the screen and exited me out of the meeting.
Oh, okay. Are you able to find this?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
I can see that, yeah.
Yep. Okay. Sawyer, what do you think? Does this look, number 1, look round or long and triangular? Compare it to number 6.
Looks round.
Yes, I would agree. 1 looks round, whereas 6 looks long and triangular. So number 1 is a quahog. We're going to go down here, insert a text box, and write quahog. Yes, that is how you say it. All right, good. Let's go number 2. Number 2, Leia, is that a univalve or a bivalve?
A univalve.
Yeah, univalve. That is a 1-shelled animal lives there. So shell with 1 valve, we're going to go to 2. 2 says, 2 says with a spire or without a spire. Okay. This is a tough one. It's one of our new vocabulary terms. Does that have a spire or does it not have a spire, Carissa?
With a spire?
Definitely. Very good. Very good. It has a spire. So that means we need to go to number 3. 3, are the whorls connected to each other or the whorls not connected to each other? Remember, here's your whorls. Who should I call on now? Ava, are those whorls connected or disconnected?
connected?
Yes, very good. They are connected. So let's see what it tells us that it is. The worlds are connected. That is a knobbed whelk. Knobbed whelk. So you might, if you zoom in, be able to see a little bit of the knobs on there. And that's contributes to its name. That is a knobbed whelk. For number 2. Very good. All right, let's go to number 3. Shell with 1 valve or shell with 2 valves? What do you think? Who haven't I talked to in a while? Riley, number 3. Is this 1 shell or is this 2 shells for number 3?
That's 1 shell.
Definitely. So we need to go. Oops. We need to go to number 2. Does it have a spire or no spire? So remember, spire is the pointed part. Cooper, let's go back to you. Spire or no spire?
I think yes, Spire.
Yes, it has a spire. You can see it pointed there. Good. So with the spire, we go to 3. Are the whorls connected to each other? No, we already found one that was. The whorls are not connected to each other. You can see them as they separate out. See that? And that is a Fargo's worm shell. Fargo's worm shell. Oops, now I'm in red and I don't want that. So, can you see my screen right now? Yes, obviously. All right. Here's what it looks like in real life. Pretty crazy. You can see it, that it's disconnected. Almost look like a weapon at times. I want to look at Fargo worm snail. Dang, I can't see one with the snail, but that is an awesome looking shell, right? I think so. You got to get excited about these things when you're a science geek. Okay, Fargo's worm shell is number 3. All right, let's move on to number 4, everybody. Number 4, okay. Shell with 1 valve or shell with 2? What do you think, Aiden Klecki? 1 or 2?
I want to say 1, but it looks like there's another hole at the end right there.
You nailed it. It is 1. That is a confusing one, and I called you on another confusing one. I'm sorry. I apologize about that. This is a 1 shell. This is a univalve. Okay? That is a univalve. It's another interesting one. Okay? So 1 valve, we're going to go to number 2. With a spire or without a spire? Carissa, does that have a spire or not? Number 4.
Without a spire.
Yeah, without a spire. So we've already determined what it is. It is a chambered nautilus. Chambered nautilus, another very interesting shell. And I kind of want to talk a little bit about a chambered nautilus. Okay. So the chambered nautilus is a species of nautilus. It's a cephalopod that has a shell. So we haven't even talked about cephalopods yet. We've talked about gastropods and a little bit about pelecypods. Cephalopods are like octopi and squids. Okay, a nautilus is also a cephalopod, but it has a shell. And you can see how creepy, well, not necessarily creepy, but awesome I think it looks, okay? You can see that it's got that soft body coming out here, and here is its shell. Chambered means it has, this shell has chambers in it. So this is a cross section of the shell. It's been cut. Now, this is awesome because it is able to float and sink based upon how much water it allows into each chamber of its shell. See that? It is really cool. If anyone ever had a chance to see this, I'm gonna guess no, but this is what the inside of the shell looks like. It's really awesome. And Mr. Mantle actually has one of them that we may get to look at tomorrow, or not tomorrow, tomorrow's Wednesday, but like Thursday possibly. But the chambered nautilus, really interesting creature here, it being that it is a shelled cephalopod. So it's related to octopus and squid. Pretty cool, right? I think so. So number 4 was a chambered nautilus. All right, let's go look at number 5. Okay, number 5. We're almost done. Oops, sorry. I am just all over the place. Number 5, tough one. Tough to see. 1 shell or 2 shell? I'm going to call on Leia. 1 shell or 2 shell for number 5?
2 shells?
Yeah, very good. 2 shells. So it kind of looks like you're looking at one of them, but this is a shell that opens up like this. Okay, it is a bivalve. All right, so we go to number 4. Number 4, radiating or concentric ribs? Radiating or concentric ribs? Sawyer, do the ribs run vertically like this or horizontally like this? What do you think?
I think the ribs are up and down. So
Yep, radiating. Very good. Awesome. Those are radiating. We are doing a great job of identifying. Radiating. Go to number 5. Now, 5. Ears or no ears? Let's take a look. Up here, does it have ears or no ears? Cooper, number 5.
No ears?
No ears. Absolutely. You nailed it. That is a common cockle. Number 5. Common cockle. Oop, let me see. Okay. Let's move on to number 6. 6. Shell with 1 valve or shell with 2 valves? Carissa.
1?
Yeah, this one is hard to see again. I know I need to find a way to make this a better sheet. This is actually like you're looking at one side or one shell of a bivalve. Okay. So it is a 2 shell. It's a shell with 2 valves. We're going to go to number 4. Radiating or concentric ribs. Now we're getting really hard to see because of how dark it is, which drives me a little bit bonkers. But remember, radiating goes this way. Concentric runs horizontally along the body. What do you think, Ava?
Concentric.
Yep, you nailed it. Good. So let's zoom out then again, Mr. Dayton. Slowly but surely. Okay, so it's concentric ribs. We're going to go to number 6. Does it have a round shape? No, because we already determined the quahog. It is a long and triangular shape. It is a blue mussel. Blue mussel, number 6. Something you might see in your local lake. All right, that leaves us with 1 left. It is number 7. Here we go. Univalve or bivalve? Emily. Emily, you there? One shell or two shells for number 7?
2.
Yep, there you go. Very good. Number 7 has 2. You're looking at one side of it. So we're going to go to number 4. Radiating or concentric ribs? Sawyer. Radiating or concentric?
Radiating.
Nailed it. Okay. So we have to go to number 5. 5. Ears or no ears? Aiden, what do you think? Does this have ears or no ears?
I think it does have ears.
Yes, it does. The other one that we looked at does not. This is a bay scallop. Bay scallop. Okay. There you have it, everybody. There's your data table. We've gone through all of them. We used our dichotomous key. There's a little bit of a warm-up for shell bingo that we could start on Thursday because we won't have time to get it done today. All right, so let's answer the question. Number 1. So let's go down here and put a text box and put number 1. Oh, I didn't want to do that. Why did it do that? Okay. How many bivalves did you classify? How many univalves and how many cephalopods? So let's count bivalves. Here's 1. Here's 2. Here's 3. Here's 4. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. We classified 4 bivalves. That means how many univalves? Kind of a trick question because this is considered a univalve too, right here. 1, 2, 3. 3 univalves. And one of those univalves was a cephalopod. The chambered nautilus. That's one of the most unique ones right here, number 4. If you have time today, you should YouTube a chambered nautilus. Pretty cool. Pretty cool how they make their way around the ocean. So that's the answers to number 1. It says, number 2, which group was the cephalopod shell more like, the univalve or the bivalve? And I would say it is a bivalve. Or sorry, not a bivalve, a univalve. I don't know why it does this. Number 2, the cephalopod is more like a univalve. Okay, number 3. Drawing conclusions. What characteristics did you use to identify the mollusk shells? All right, so what were some of the things that we looked at? Someone please tell me some characteristics we looked at were. What did we use to determine? Somebody raise their hand, tell me one thing we used to separate these shells out. Go ahead, Riley.
We looked at the ears and then
Perfect.
I forgot what that one part was that were like the point piece.
Oh yeah, we looked at good the spire. Yeah. So some characteristics we looked at were whether or not the shell had ears, the spire. What else? Anybody else? There were more for sure. Definitely some more. What else did we look at? Somebody's got to raise their hand. Let me know. Go ahead, Carissa, or is that Ava? Ava, sorry, Ava.
Radiating and concentric.
Yep, radiating and concentric ribs. How about the things that, sorry, how about whorls? I just gave us the answer. Connected and disconnected whorls. And let's just say, and whether or not mollusk had one or two shells. So those are all the things that we looked at today to help us determine. We will do more of this on Thursday with more shells that I'll actually have in my hand and you'll be able to see. And we'll have to classify, I think it's around like 18 or so, maybe not, maybe more. Okay, but there will be some interesting ones and they'll look really cool. All right, but for today, that's all we had. That's all you had to accomplish today. So please submit this. This is a nice activity for us. Gets us practice at carry out that investigation. Okay, please submit this so that I can get you in the grade book and have you get a nice easy one for you. Okay. Otherwise, any other questions?